Welcome dear viewers to the assembly process of the OZ mass-produced mobile suit, or specifically the OZ-06MS Leo, which is a grunt suit in the Gundam Wing series. Now laid out on the work mat here are both individual parts as well as sub-assemblies, which I had fully painted with Mr. Color lacquer paints. Now let's begin the assembly process of this Leo by starting with the leg. Now the sole of the feet here, as you can see, I painted in a metallic gunmetal light color. First I insert the toe armor, which is painted in olive, in a kind of an olive green. And now this small square piece that you see me trying to put onto the foot has the color which is the main color of the Leo grunt suit. It is in a dark green color. Now let me slot it into this, to the top of the feet, like so. So we will complete the assembly of the feet by placing the heel, which also has been painted in olive green kind of color. Moving on to the Leo's ankle guard. Now in a lot of suits which has this style of armor, the ankle guard has been a complaint of many scale modelers as a weak point of the suit. Going forward, we will have a look and to see whether this is the case for the Leo as well. Now before I place the ankle guard onto the foot, I will place it onto the lower, I'll insert it onto the lower half of his leg in this manner. So the ankle guard now has been attached to the lower half of the leg before I proceed to attach the lower half of the leg onto the feet. The ankle guard seems to be coming loose rather easily, so maybe there's a point to what the other scale models have said about the ankle guard of suits which have this type of design. Now let me proceed on to the knee. The knee has some mechanisms which allow it to bend, so there are other parts involved. But before I proceed to the knee for that leg, let me first assemble both the foot and the lower half of the leg of the Leo's left side. It has not been easy to paint the parts for this high-grade kit because the parts are fairly small, which is the reason why I had sub-assembled certain portions of it to reduce the amount of painting that I have to do. Because painting individual parts is definitely more time-consuming than painting sub-assemblies. And the colors that I have mixed for the Leo grunt suit is not entirely 100% accurate, as in following the recipe that has been provided by the instruction pamphlet that came with the kit. I did my own mix, but I tried my best to get the closest to the paint ratios that were suggested, but I wasn't too hung up on getting it exactly correct. So the colors you see here might be slightly different from what was recommended by the instruction pamphlet. So now let's proceed to the upper half of the leg, which attaches to that knee joint that I attached earlier. Now the knee is not complete yet, So while the tie has to attach to the knee first, the knee joint rather first, before other parts of the knee can be placed. There's the ankle guard coming loose again. So now let's look at the knee. First, the back of the knee has an armor piece that is in the olive green light color. Then the front part of the knee is encased by a dark green armor piece slotted in like so. So that's the knee complete, with the upper half of the thigh attached to the lower half of the leg via the knee joint. Then that is the right leg of the Leo grunt suit. Okay, before, I think there's still one more thing I have to put, which is the hip joint, which seems to be a simple ball joint attaching onto the thigh. So that finally completes the leg, or the right leg. Now I'll do the same thing for the left leg. Now, apart from painting the parts using Mr. Color's lacquer paints, I had also panel lined the grooves on the parts using the Mr. Weathering Color product, which is a panel lining product from the Mr. Hobby range. Previously, I had used Tamiya panel accent colors, but nowadays my go-to panel lining paint are the Mr. Weathering Color series from the Mr. Hobby products. So now that's the left, or rather the right leg completed. Previously I completed the left leg. So now let's move on to the waist. The waist begins with the inner black piece, which will be completely hidden from view, hence I did not paint it. Now I'm attaching a rocket, no, not a rocket veneer, more of a extension of the hip joints, the joints, the pegs which the legs will eventually insert into. Now then, this is the back armor of the waist, painted in a dark green color. After painting the Mr. Color lacquer paints, I did not top coat it because I feel that the paints were hardy and strong enough to withstand rough handling like what you see me doing now during the assembly process. And I kind of like the semi-gloss shine to it, hence I did not top coat the dark green parts or any of the other painted parts for that matter. Now finally I'm attaching the rocket veneers, the back rocket veneers, which I painted in a metallic color and panel line in black to give it some depth. Usually the rocket veneers, you can't go wrong if you paint the rocket veneers of any mobile suit in a metallic color. So that's the back rocket veneers inserted fully into the back armor for the waist. Now let's attach the front rocket veneer, which if you ask me is kind of placed inappropriately at the groin area, but then I guess in a mechanical engineering point of view it makes sense to have it in that location. Perhaps as a thruster to prevent forward momentum or to ensure a thrust which moves the suit backwards. So now let's continue on with the front armor of the waist, which is also in dark green. The dark green armor pieces have been panel-lined with a dark umber light brown color from the Mr. Weathering color line. I always use umber light or dark brown colors to panel line green pieces because I feel that gives the green more pop, so to speak, versus using a black panel line. Seems I got to attach this side front armors first before attaching the final front piece of the waist armor. No, I have to remove the rocket veneer first, insert this front armor piece for the waist before finally attaching the front rocket veneer or thruster of the waist, like so. Now I will proceed to the side armor for the waist, which are also dark green pieces panel lined in dark brown. And with that, the waist of the Leo grunt suit is now complete. Now, next up will be the body. The inner frame of the body I had painted completely in a metallic color, but as you will see later, they will be covered up. Most of the parts will be covered up. Now what I'm attaching here in olive green are the joints onto which the arms will insert later on, whereas this final olive green piece will be the part where the waist or lower torso attaches to. So this is the back piece of the body armor, which constitutes the main color of this suit, which is dark green, as I mentioned earlier. I don't think so I'm getting it at the right angle. Just let me adjust the angle of entry, or maybe just adjust the shoulder packs so that they do not block the entry of the back panel or the back armor of the body of this Leo grunt suit. Let's try this again. I'm trying to attach the back armor of the upper body. Finally it goes in. With that done, I'll move on to the front half. Now, as I mentioned earlier, most of that metallic parts will be covered up, but enough will be showing so that what I painted in metallic is not wasted. So that's the upper half of the body done. So now let's assemble the torso section or the lower half of the body. Before attaching it onto the upper half of the body to complete the torso section. So that's the body done. Now then, let's move on to the arms. This is the shoulder joint, which has a moving rectangular armor that attaches via these two small pegs or hole joints. It's a unique design for sure. Now let's put on the arm. Starting with the lowest part of the arm. What I'm holding here is the joint, or rather a polycap kind of part, which allows the hands to slot into the arm. This has been painted in olive green, brownish olive green. Let me try closing up the lower arm now. It's not closing, so I think I've gotten the orientation of that brown olive connector piece wrong. So let me adjust it. No, it's still not closing up. So I have to completely change. I better not risk it. Now when you want to separate parts and not damage them, there are specific tools to use for this. The one I'm going to use now is one that I believe I got from a Taiwanese company called U-Star. It's a tool with a metal piece connected to a orange plastic handle or yellow plastic handle, and it allows me to slot into a gap and twist ever so slightly and separate the parts without damaging the plastic. The edges of the metal piece that you saw earlier were rounded, hence they do not cut into the plastic pieces. I found it to be an extremely useful tool, as it has been more than one time that I've put in a part wrongly or in the wrong alignment. Now I think I've gotten it in the correct alignment at last, and as you can see, in the correct alignment, the two halves come together much more easily and without much resistance. So with the lower part of the arm done, let's connect the peg or the elbow joint, which I painted in a darker metallic paint. I believe I had mixed a little bit of black into that metallic gunmetal-like paint to give it a slightly darker hue. Now this is the upper half of the arm, which is rather short. That's just a design unique to this mobile suit. And finally, the large shoulder piece, which kind of acts like an upper half of the arm as well. And there the elbow mechanism allowing the arm to bend at slightly more than 90 degrees. Finally, let's work on the hand. It consists of just two pieces, a green armor piece attached to this olive green fingers, and the hand attaches to the arm via a ball joint, a simple ball joint, like so. So that's the right arm complete. Now I'm going to do the same for the left arm. So talking more about the painting of the Gundam, in later videos I hope to do a kind of a instructional video which will let you know whether you should actually paint a Gundam. And one of the Gundam or the scale model kit that I'm going to use will be the OZ-06MS Leo, in which I will use a fully painted kit, which is the one you see here. And I will eventually build one which straight out of the box, a straight out of the box build without any paint or panel lining. And then I will do yet another one, a third Leo suit, and this one I will only panel line and top coat, which is what a lot of scale modelers do if they do not want to paint a kit but they still want it to look better than a straight out of the box plastic kind of finish. So that will be one to look forward to, my dear viewers. For now, let's get back to the fully painted build of the Leo grunt suit. This grunt suit was first seen in the Gundam Wing series, and to my knowledge the Gundam Wing series is one that is has been widely known as the series that introduced Western viewers to the Gundam universe. Back where I am in Malaysia, I think that is not much the case. We were more introduced to Gundam from way back in its original series, which is the original grandfather Gundam series, or the 0079 Universal Century 1 Year War, 10 Year War. I am not so sure. I'll have to check it out later. If I make any mistakes, I will post up the correction in text in this video later. So that's the other hand done. Now finally we move on to the head. Now the head has a metallic foil that I placed inside it, which I've taken from the Toy Story kit. Now I use this to enable the clear piece that I will eventually put over it to reflect light better. Now the sides of the head are in red. These two pieces which I'm placing on both sides of the head. as I mentioned earlier, that reflecting foil piece allows light to be reflected better through the clear yellow part, which I've inserted onto the mono eye. So that then is the major sub-assemblies of the Leo ground suit completed. Now, I'm trying to press in the clear yellow piece so that it doesn't come out. In other words, ensure that it's inserted securely onto the head. So that's the foil piece reflecting the light, giving a better shine to the mono eye. So now with all the major sub-assemblies done, let's proceed to put it all together in a final assembly process, beginning with the head onto the body. There's not much movement available on the head, but before going into that, let's place the waist onto the body. I've said I've gotten the legs a bit mixed up. This is the right leg, which I'll insert via a elongated peg on the waist. That's the right leg attached. Now for the other leg. Both legs are now attached. Just making sure that it's secure. I guess that's secure enough. Let's proceed on to the arms, beginning with the left arm. Simple ball joint. And now the right arm. So that's the OZ-06MS Leo, a mass-produced mobile suit in the Gundam Wing series, fully assembled. I will put together the weapons and attach it onto the Leo in another video following this one. But for now, this is the Leo itself, fully assembled. Not only did I assemble it here, but as you can see, this is a fully painted kit. Every part that you see here, well, most, if not all of the parts that you can see have been fully painted using Mr. Color lacquer paints. I initially didn't really like the plasticky look to the high-grade kit, hence my decision to fully paint this Leo ground suit. So that's it for this assembly process. Thank you so much, dear viewers, for taking the time to watch it. I hope you liked this video. Have a great day.